This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
All right, good evening. Welcome to the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website and mbradio.us. We got to bless the show before we get started. Let's go. When I was in my mother's womb, I had a calling on my life to do something in the glory of God and marry it like a wife. Commit myself to his word and never be led astray. And when it's all over, when he comes, I'll be glad to see that day in the morning time. All right. Good evening and welcome to the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio and Military Broadcast Radio Network. That's right, MBR. Thanks for listening in tonight. We have always a spectacular show for you tonight on the Farron Dozier Show, featuring Sports Collective TV, media, and radio. Well, when do we get started? Let's see. Oh my goodness. I don't even know where we want to start. I got Sports Log down there waiting on the sports piece, waiting on the Sports Collective crew. Let's just start with today. Today I had an opportunity to speak at church. It's third Sunday at MOR. And, you know, the Bible study lesson this week was on Jonah. And how angry he was with God. And it's not funny because there's no no mistakes in the word of God, because everything is for the good. And as I was praying and planning for this week's talk, seeking the Holy Spirit for guidance and looking at the Bible study and listening to the Bible study line and applying that word to my own personal life, and just looking at where I get to be Jonah in my life. A lot of those Bible passages, they actually, if you self-examine yourself up against the word, you will see that you're not much different than the people that are acknowledged in the Bible. From Moses' attitude to Jonah's attitude to Jeremiah's attitude to Elijah's attitude. But one thing about Jonah that I learned from this week's lesson, he struggled. Even his title of who he was and being chosen and God giving him assignments to go and take care of, he went the wrong direction. He went the other direction. Like he didn't want to take it on. But what was interesting is that he even asked God to take his life. That's a serious conversation. It's serious because with our veteran community, like us on MBR platform, we know that veterans take their life one every 65 minutes. It's 9 o'clock tonight, so you do the math. 8 o'clock tonight. One every 65 minutes, the veteran takes their life. But back to the biblical context of it, Jonah was dealing with so much. And then when I looked at my life, man, I was dealing with a lot too. Still am. not exempt, because up against the word, we understand that it's not about the circumstances. It's not about the concerns or the worries. It's who I get to be in the midst of those circumstances, in the midst of those worries. And so learning from Jonah about his disobedience, and he had a control problem. He wanted to control the outcomes of his life, and maybe kind of felt like he wasn't good enough to do what God called him to do. Sometimes I feel that way. I learned that this right here, this is inherited gene. I was born with that. That's my purpose. That was my gift from God to have a conversation. So once I realized that, I didn't want to end my life anymore. I realized I had a purpose. I realized that God had a reason for me to be here. And I'm sure a lot of us have that question for ourselves. Why am I here? Why am I born? What can I do? There's a series of questions we go through. But also, when I looked at Jonah's life, last Sunday I spoke about the prodigal son and what he went through, right? Going to his father, asking for all of his inheritance, and then taking it and then blowing it all, spoiling it all. And yet finding himself in a pig pen, pigsty, eating pig's food. Until that one day he came to himself. And when he came to himself, he realized that, man, maybe I should just go back home to my father. But even in the process of him coming back home to his father, he reduced himself to a slave. Like he was willing not to even come back as a proud son, but as a slave, just to get back in the house. But what did his father do? What did his father say? That's my son who was lost. No, you come in here. Here's a robe. Get the biggest calf. We're going to celebrate your life returning home. And then we look at Jonah, who snuck on a boat, snuck on the ship. The tides, the storm. The fishermen were like, "Hey, man, yo, are we having these? Is this storm because of you?" And he was like, "Hey, if you throw me over, it might end." And so they tossed him over. But even in them tossing them over, they saw God in that conversation and started to recognize God for who he was, even in the midst of that storm. But what did God do for Jonah? He swallowed him up in the big fish. So even though he tried to take his own life and not follow what God had to say, God still was there. God was still with the prodigal son who was sleeping in the pig pen, eating pig slop. Well, what's pig slop? Sometimes it's potato skins. Do y'all eat potato skins? Yeah. If you eat a baked potato, you eat the skin of the potato, right? Imagine that's what the prodigal son was eating. But imagine in that pig pen was the wood that was made from the same wood that the house was made from that his father lived in. So the point was today, even with Jonah's story, is that God provides, even when we don't think he's providing, he's providing. And so for us as parents, especially with our children, our children are going to go through their own trials and tribulations of their life. And even though for us as parents, it may look like we don't want them to go through that, but they have to go through that because that's their life. So are you going to worry about your children, or are you going to pray and stand for them and allow God to take care of them? It's a very difficult conversation because as human beings, we really love one another. We really don't want to see each other struggling. That's why we have a lot to say about. That's why all these podcasts are on the air, trying to help people because we really don't want to see each other fail or whatever that failure is for ourselves. But sometimes out of context, these conversations that we have on these podcasts or these talk shows up against other people doesn't allow them to express themselves or be free to be or go through whatever they're going through without judgment, right? And so, yeah, the first part of this conversation is about my day today, but about life. And sometimes we got to recognize that in the midst of the storm, in the midst of the trials, the tests, the tribulation, however you describe your life, that God is there. If you believe that. Now, if you don't believe that, then, that's a whole nother conversation we can have, because I like to find out where you got your beliefs from. But as for me and my house, we talk about what God provides. And, when you read the word, you talk about the word, you talk from the word, the Spirit led Jesus into the wilderness to be tested. And also Satan has to ask permission to test you. So if you understand that and you relate to that and you see that for yourself and you recognize it in your own life, then it's not that bad. See, I used to live that life is fun, exciting, and dangerous. Now listen to me. Life is fun, exciting, and dangerous. Now that is, for myself, means that that's what it is. Like, it is fun, exciting, and dangerous, and it could be no other way. But do you hear how that sounds? It sounds like I'm fixed in my life experience of myself. And so you hear people talk, how you describe life. Ask people, how do you describe life? Life is hard. People will tell you life is challenging. Life is this, life is that. Life is. But I learned most recently, actually I learned 14 years ago, but this tool I had not applied completely because I really didn't understand the occurring world. But when I got present to my occurring world today and how I talk and how I is the way I is, I realized that that's a level of me being stuck even in my language. Life is not hard. Life is not just fun. Life is not just exciting. Life is not just dangerous. But that is world comes from where? My past, my hopelessness experiences, some good times, some disappointments. Life becomes hard. The desire or the despair to want to take my life because it's just, I don't feel like, why am I here? Like those are the conversations that we have silently. And they're fixed. But human beings aren't fixed objects. We can learn, we can grow, we can develop, we can change, we can alter, we can create. So we're not fixed objects, but we talk like we're fixed objects. We talk to people like they're a fixed object. And if I told you that Farron is lazy, that's the way I is. And if I say that about you or someone says that about me, then that's all you get to experience. It's to think from, oh, Farron is lazy. Oh, yeah. And then all the stuff that comes with being lazy. But what if Farron occurs as lazy? Do you hear the difference? That if Farron occurs as lazy, that allows me to go and find out what is going on with Farron. Like, what's up with you, man? Are you okay? Are you good? Are you dealing with something? Because the occurring world isn't the truth. It allows me to go and reach out and talk to that person and find out if I'm interested, if I care. Hey, what's going on? So as parents, we were children, right? And a lot of us were talked to like that from our parents. And then we carry that same language in describing people. And you can't describe people. I mean, you can, but that's where judgment, that's where, we get mixed up in trying to describe people how they are. And that's just not how they are. So parents, make sure that you listen to your children. Listen to how you talk to them. Listen to how you respond to them. Maybe you got to go and forgive your parents for how they talk to you. From a type of love and concern and worry for your life that they wanted your life to turn out as a child. And all we want is for our children to turn out as a child. To have an opportunity. So to sum up that whole passage, at the end of the day, God provided for Jonah. God provided for Moses and Jeremiah and Elijah and the prodigal son, and for you too, and for me. But you got to experience that. Do you know what that feels like? To have God provide for you for something? Maybe you don't give God the credit. Maybe you give luck the credit. I don't know. It's not for me to say. But your happiness is connected to circumstances. So when circumstances change, your happiness changes. But if you understand that it comes from God, then no matter what situation you're in, you can have joy in the Lord, because it's just a test up against possibly to take you off track of what you're really here to do or who you're here to be. So it's important. It's important because the way that the world is going today, man, if you watch too much CNN, you could become sick. If you're worried about the state of the country, you could become sick. What are you filtering these conversations for, these world systems? We got to find peace somewhere. I say peace in God. If you believe in God, capital G is the capital God I'm talking about. God, capital G-O-D. Those little gods, I don't know. I don't deal with the little gods. The capital G-O-D consists of the Trinity. God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. That's the God I follow. So I'm learning to ask people, hey, what God are you talking about? Because maybe we're not talking about the same God, right? And I'm not here to judge you from your God, but at least I can have an idea of what you're talking about. So I may not even want to have a conversation about my walk directly because we're not just going to talk. We're not going to agree to the same God. So let's talk about something else. Let's talk about life, right? And then I can see where you are. And maybe we can share. All right. So that's this first half. Let's see what else. Oh, so on Thursday, I had an opportunity to sit with Caldwell. I'm connected to this conversation called Conversations and Coffee and Conversations. They're a group of Black veterans mainly, but anyone is welcome. And in this conversation with this veteran group, a lot of them are older gentlemen. I'm pretty sure I'm the youngest. And, we had an opportunity to present Caldwell's education about the LBI solutions topic. And it was really beautiful because inside of this LBI solutions conversation that we have, we deal with a lot of different things about human beings. And what's most important for human beings is a sense of belonging. Like, you can look in your own life. You don't even have to Google this. Just use the empirical truth that human beings need to belong. We're social beings. We need to belong. And when that is threatened or thwarted, then we start malfunctioning. And sometimes transition and change is also connected to that sense of belonging. And so we were sharing, and one gentleman took that conversation and he walked away with, how can he improve his dialogue with his daughter? And it was like, oh, wow. How we listen to one another is so important. We swear that we're great communicators. We swear that we listen, we are listeners. But are we really listeners, or do we listen to react? Or do we listen to respond? Speaking without offending and listening without defending is, it's tough, right? Because of how we listen and what we filter life from. And so he walked away with wanting to figure out how can he communicate with his child. And it made me think, because the lady that's a part of that conversation that set that up for us, in her listening of what we do with LBI Solution, she wants to focus on our veterans' children, right? Because as a veteran, whether you're National Guard, Army, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, Reserves, when you go away from your home, you're taken out of that environment, and now your family is left to adjust and be in that house without you. And then you come back, whether it's from 2 week summer camp or basic training or wherever, or deployment, and now you've got to integrate yourself back into that home. And I remember when I was in my relationship with my family, I would disconnect before I left. But that was a learned behavior because of what the military taught us, not to worry about your family. You can't be on the battlefield worried about what's going on at home, because you could get your whole squad killed, yourself killed, by daydreaming about where you are and what you're doing. So everyone manages that home relationship differently. And some people disconnect 2 weeks before they have to go deploy, or a week before they go deploy. They disconnect from that family because they're going to be emotionally, you got to be emotionally unattached. And so now we're looking at how we can help our conversations with our veterans and our service members in that part of life. That when you come back and now you're back in the home, and the wife has been running the family, or the husband has been running the family, and the children, they're not used to you being there. And now here you come and you show up and you want to just like be right back. Like, I'm back. Like, hey, it might not be that easy. And so now we're looking at that for our families. And has that connection ever been reestablished? And this man is trying to figure out how he can connect with his daughter so that he can just be there with her and help her and guide her and communicate with her. I know that firsthand. My middle daughter, Brittany, we went through that same conversation. And with some knowledge and understanding and some communication and some listening, we were able to restore that relationship. I'm proof that you can reconcile relationships with your family members, with your children, with your friends. It is possible. You got to be willing, though. You got to be willing to give up your view, your perception, your perspective, your interpretation that you're right about everything. And sometimes as parents, we're not right. Sometimes that child is right about our behavior. Sometimes that child is right about their life and what they experience. But do we allow that child to express themselves? Do we allow that child to point it out that, hey, I disappointed you as a parent? And that's okay, because I'm not perfect. See, there's so many dynamics to this conversation. The spiritual aspect, there's this human being aspect. And at the end of the day, we want to be social. We want to be friends. We want to have loved ones around us. We want to be connected to everybody. But it's just not the truth. It's just not how life is all the time. Everybody's not going to love you and like you and be your friend and want to date you and want to marry you and want to talk to you. Everybody's not going to want that. Not because you're a bad person, but just because that maybe they're dealing with their own stuff. on how to connect with people. So the life of a 5-year-old, 2-year-old, 8-year-old, I got them all coming. But that one right there, I told my daughter, we need to go on tour. We need to start having these conversations and allowing fathers and daughters and fathers to reconnect, to create a space for them to just show up and just kind of listen and give guidance. Tell our story. Ask us questions on how we did it. And maybe you could find your version of that and restore your relationship with your family, with your child. Whew, it's a lot. Or is it a lot? Depends on how you look at life. And so these are the things that I'm up to. My sickle cell trait is number 1. And number 1A and 1B. 1A is my sickle cell trait as my activity of life. But who Farron gets to be when I show up is that 1B, which is that person who wants to show and share how we can self-examine ourselves and deal with life, deal with our mental health, deal with our mental toughness, and be free from some of these worldly activities, that you can discover your greatness. See, I'm learning that singleness is not just a status. Being single is not just a status. It's an opportunity for me to get myself together, to experience being whole and complete, to create oneness with myself, so that when it's time for that other person to come in, that I'm already complete, I'm already good, I've already dealt with my stuff. And then that's the stuff that you want to give away. See, I don't want to leave people in the dark. But as I'm learning, you might need to be in the dark. You might need to be in the dark. And when you're willing to look at it from another perspective, I'm here. I'm here to share that with you, if you want. You see, I'm learning sometimes you have to ask permission to speak into people's life, because some people don't want answers. They just want to be heard. So there's this whole dynamic, right? There's this whole dynamic of what it is to be human, spiritually, in our soul, our mind, our will, and emotions. All that. So I thank you for this first half. Whew. At some point, I'm going to, bring a guest. I'm going to get back to the military, the trench talk segment for sure. We just had Veterans Day. But there's a few segments that I do here that I haven't done most recently. Usually I just like to take this first half to kind of express myself and just kind of say what needs to be said on my own mind. But you can come and do that here. If you would like to be a guest, just reach out to me, and you're more than welcome to share your story on this platform. Military, veteran families, and supporters, whoever you are. You could be a stranger off the street. I've interviewed strangers off the street on the Music Marshall Place in Time, the soundtrack to life. Everybody's got a soundtrack to their life. We love music. That's one way we can connect. All right. So I'm going to play our public service announcement here, and then we'll come back. I see Sports Log is here, so I know he's got some sports highlights from today. All I know is the Steelers won. That's all that matters. We're not going to be, hopefully not in a wild card situation like we've been in the last few years. We've got that spot, and hopefully they maintain that the rest of the season, so we can have that shot at the Super Bowl. All right. Again, I appreciate you for tuning in and listening. If you have any questions, you want to reach out to me for that sickle cell trait awareness, it's wdconsct.org. Everything I'm up to is also on the link tree as well. If you want a link tree information, you can go there. I got a link tree for the life of a. I got a link tree for the basketball. I got link trees for a couple of things. Mostly everything that I talk about is at farrond.com. All of the different topics, from the emotional intelligence to the talk shows, everything you can find there at farrond.com. Oh, Orcas basketball as well, the ABA. My ABA team, we are 0-2, so we lost 2 games. We have a game coming on Sunday, the 24th. Las Vegas was coming to town. We were supposed to go to Las Vegas, but they were double booked, and so we weren't able to make that trip. So it gives us some time to what we see as a development for our development squad is to play defense, man. I'm old school. I play basketball. I'm old school. You gotta have some fundamentals. Fundamental basketball is key. You gotta box out, find the man, move your feet. Ultimately, defense wins the game. That's where we at. And so we're helping our players get to that point where they get the defensive mindset back and they can stop playing rec ball or 24-hour fitness basketball and play some defense, man. You can score points. You got to put a body on something. When that shot goes up, you got to put a body on a man. Got to put a body on a man. And if that man is taller than you, it's going to be over the back. If you position yourself. So yeah, that's what we're lacking. 80% of basketball is mental. That's what I told him. 80% of basketball is mental. Where's your mind at? But great group of guys, all ages, all backgrounds. That is a ministry for me. That basketball is definitely a ministry. And we plan on doing some great work with this basketball platform. It's not just about the ABA. It's about those gentlemen that are playing. We're all chasing the hoop dream. I'm just chasing it as an owner right now because I can't physically get out there and play with them. But I'm still on the court mentally. All right, so let's go. This is the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM, and the Military Broadcast Radio Network, MBR. Make sure you check out all the different shows on both platforms, and both platforms has apps. So for my KCA community, or if you're interested in that platform, they got an app. Also, the MBR has an app. Take a listen to my brothers and sisters at arms, the first responders that are here, the family. Come and check out those episodes. You might learn something. You might need to hear some of these stories to soften your heart on how you look in society about people. Because we talk about ourselves too. We talk about ourselves, how we is, and this is the way that I are. Like there's no other way to be. Nah. You're not a fixed object. You're not a chair. You're not a table. You're a person.
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calmago. Calmago is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes in moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Calmago decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Calmago.com to learn how you can get Calmago through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh, man, that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn, are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. You know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait, there's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org. Zetovia salve, made from natural and organic ingredients, good for inflammation, poor circulation, hemorrhoids, yeast infection, lip sores, dry coughs, eye pain, minor cuts and bruises, and ready to purchase at botanicaherbalco.com. 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 This is Farron from the Farron Dozier Show, 8 p.m. Pacific Time on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website, the station that leaves no listener behind, and MBR Radio. That's right, MBR Radio on all their streaming platforms, including MBR Radio on Roku TV, Sunday nights live, 8 p.m. Pacific Time on KCAA Radio and MBRradio.us. The Farron Dozier Show. For more information, search farrond.com.
I just wanna breathe his name, my God. Lift his name up high, dedicate this life, give him all we got. We will testify with our hands out, keep him up in the sky.
I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I made it up out of the city, avoided the hate and the gritty. Me and my little brother, my lovely mother tried to make it easy, but we was some knuckles though. We used to let them knuckles throw. We used to let them chuckles go when we thought about the places we would go. Yeah, lights off. Yeah, no, really. Lights off. Yeah, no money. Lights off. Under the candlelight.
Welcome back to the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Hey, look, if you're in the Inland Empire and you're in your car and you got to get out of that vehicle for any reason, just go to kcaradio.com, click listen live or watch live, and you can catch us streaming on the platform right there from the website. Also, download the app. Also, MBR has an app too, so you can go there, download the app, click live, watch live. Like, they got all the different shows. Everything's there on both apps. All right. Or just go to these platforms, social media, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, X, used to be Twitter, wherever you get your platforms at. And make sure you download them afterwards. After the show's over, you can also go to wherever you download your podcast and catch the show over there as well too. All right, so my guy Sports Log is here. So Sports Log, man, I was talking to Sports Log before we got on the air, and the platform that I first started on before we got to the level that we are right now It's Blog Talk Radio. 14 years ago, Blog Talk, I found Blog Talk, and Sports Log was my guy. Sports Log we have been together 14 years, ladies and gentlemen, longer than some of y'all relationships. We have been hanging out for a long time, and I credit, God putting this piece of the puzzle of Sports Log in my life, because when I started that podcast, that Blog Talk show back in 2009, 2010, I was depressed. I mean, life was over. I was in the space where we just got done talking about the first half of the show. That was over. It was over. My career was over. My life was over. And being a huge sports fan at the time, prior to that, I lost interest in a lot of things, and sports was one. And so Sports Log was there to back me up. A friend of mine recommended it. I went on this because I had did an interview on Blog Talk before, so I remember the streaming platform. I went and created an account, and he and I would be on the air. I think we start off at Mondays for like 2 hours. It was free too at the time. It was like 2 hours, and he's 3 hours ahead. So mind you, even at 7 o'clock at night, it was 10 o'clock at night his time. Tonight he's here is 8:41, so that means it's 11:41 where he's at. This is the dedication that I get from this guy, on and off over the last 14 years, and he has been here when I needed him. Not wanted him just only, but when I needed him, man. So thanks, Sports Log, for hanging out, man. Come off of mute. Let the people know what's going on in the highlights today, man. I know you got some stuff. You got to come off of mute, though. Yeah, you're on mute. Yeah. What's happening? Oh, I still can't hear you. I still can't hear you. I still can't hear you. No, I can't hear you. Can't hear you. You got to see where your microphone is, either on your speaker, or your laptop. Are you using you got to see what the controls are I have for you. If not, we'll let him figure that out. Yeah, I can't hear you. So we're gonna let Sports Log figure out his audio. Again, this is the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM, and Military Broadcast Radio. This is what happens when you go live, right? When you choose to have a live broadcast show, anything is possible. Anything is. He's still trying to get it together, ladies and gentlemen. If you can see him online, he's squirming. It's like he's down by 3. You can hear me, yeah, you can hear me, but I can't hear you. So let's figure that one out. Again, anything's possible. This is where you run the risk of a live show, and we get to handle that. No problems, no stress, nothing to worry about. We just get to keep going. So I'm looking to bring back the Trench Talk segment. So if you are a veteran, a family member of a veteran, a supporter of veterans, you care about veterans, please reach out to me, right? At Farron Dozier Show, Instagram. And let's set up an interview. We can pre-record it. We can do it live. If you don't want to be on camera, we could just do the audio version. However you want to present yourself. But I would love to have you on the segment, maybe about a half an hour. We can talk about your life experiences before, during, and after service. Before, during, and after service is my military. Oh, there he is my military platform. So I'm reaching out to veterans. I might be looking for a producer for that veteran show too, because I got like 3 or 4 shows, and I might need some help on that one. So if you'd like to be a guest on the Trench Talk segment, you're more than welcome to come and hang out, tell your story, share your life before, during, and after service. Also, if you are in my sickle cell community and you want to share your story about living with sickle cell trait or sickle cell or any chronic illness, because we advocate for lupus and all the other types of chronic illnesses as well. So if you have something that you want to share and you need a place to share your story, what you're dealing with, some relatedness, you're more than welcome to come here on the Farron Dozier Show and share your story as well. It's open. It's not a one-way conversation here. All right, let's see. You there?
What's the count?
Hey, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. We got it figured out.
It's a setting right here on this app. This I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Welcome to technology.
StreamYard.
Welcome to technology.
Yeah, but I just went back to the settings that I had set up for the headphones and put the microphone on the same.
Yeah. It happens.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm 3 hours ahead.
You're 3 hours ahead,
I'm
man. It's
having
late.
a rough time with this game right here. And this late game, man, Cincinnati and LA.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a late to Cincinnati. They come all the way back, catch up, tie it. They can't even get to overtime right now. Cincinnati missed 2 field goals to secure, get the go ahead, but they cannot do that. LA is still driving right now. I don't like any of this.
I don't like Cincinnati anyway, so I'm not even really concerned about them.
I mean, I know Cincinnati's got to stay alive to win this game. They got to get back into the playoff hunt, but LA, if they do, they're still. If Cincinnati wins this, they're still in the playoff hunt. No, they'll be 5 and 6.
Cincinnati
5 and 6. Yeah, LA would be 6 and 4, but LA is about to win the game. Chargers touchdown.
Oh,
see ya. 20 seconds left.
Oh,
yeah, I think that was Dobbins. That was Dobbins. Oh, I got him on one of my teams. No, but Dobbins just won. Dobbins just iced the game. They got less than half a minute. So.
Oh yeah, that game's a wrap.
Yeah. So, but we've had some great games the last couple of days. The first chink in the armor, Ted, Kansas City. Let's the Miami Dolphins absolved 72 in the year. Still the only undefeated Super Bowl champ. But Buffalo Bills played them. They played the game plan, and they haven't had a lot of home games against Kansas City in this series. And in the last 4 games, they've had 14 lead changes, and all games have been decided by under 6 points or less. And today was no different with a 2-point win. But Kansas City. I mean, Buffalo knew they had to be aggressive. You can't give the ball back like Tampa Bay did a couple last 2 weeks ago. You can't give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes, even in overtime. You can't even let him. So you saw him on the sideline, kind of getting beefed that he wants a chance. But Josh Allen, he made a couple of big plays, including the game winner to ice it in regulation. I mean, it was a good thing to see. I'm kind of a fan of Buffalo just because I got nothing else to root for here in the AFC East. But I was a big fan of Buffalo back in the Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas. He was one of my favorite running backs in the day. Because, it was Emmitt Smith, which, what a formidable opponent. But Emmitt Smith was kind of – he had his own doubt. But I like Thurman Thomas. I like what the Bills did back then, 4 in a row and not get there. But, I mean – if I picked mine, I mean, I've always wanted the Bills in San Francisco, but say the Bills in Detroit get there this year, Detroit's first year getting there. I don't know, man. The Lions have had a campaign. Campbell's got something going on there. Jared Goff, second perfect passer rating for the same QB. And only 4 QBs have had a perfect passer rating with 400 yards.
Oh wow!
And I believe he's done it twice. So Jared Goff, he could be the MVP because there isn't really they lost Hutchinson, the defensive lineman. The Lions are really pulling it together out of whatever mix they've got. And I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Chicago kind of fell out, but they still have 3 teams in the NFC North that look like they could make the playoffs. So, and the Lions may win the NFC North. They actually are tied now with the best record in the league since Kansas City fell to 9-1. The Lions are 9-1. The Bills are 9-2. They still have to have a bye.
You were talking about
for January.
You were talking about the Bills, man, and I want to go back to back in the day when the Bills they would just interrupt people's season, man. They would just mess up people's like they did tonight. Tonight remind me of the old Bills never going to the Super Bowl or making it to the Super Bowl, but never winning the Super Bowl.
Making it, never winning. Yeah,
Right?
they're like the Minnesota. Minnesota never won back in the day, and then they still haven't
Right.
won. Denver, it took them forever, and then John Elway got them 2 in a row. It looked like they could have maybe made 3, but Terrell Davis probably. But yeah, we're looking at Kansas City maybe being able to have the potential to win 3 in a row. But tonight, I think we can't really say turning of the guard yet because it's still November. We haven't even hit Thanksgiving, which is a week or so, and then that's when stuff really starts to happen as they used to. Everything to a higher gear, and then we're gonna see who's really been jockeying for playoffs, kind of like what we're watching every Saturday now. I was gonna say, we had a lot of moving yesterday, teams going up and down, but
What do you want to say about what do you want to say about my Steelers, man? My Steelers. I was at church when that game was going on, but
a lot of people, even the stadium, that was church to them. That was gospel. I mean, man, I can't. I know that matchup, the Steelers and Ravens.
I know
6 field goals doesn't usually get you a win, but in the AFC North and between those 2 teams particularly, I know Baltimore has won on like a 5 field goal game, and the other team could only get like a touchdown and a field goal. So I know 5 to 6 field goals can win you a game in that division, only because of those defenses and the tough. I watched that game and I enjoyed it because it was defensive, but I wasn't looking to see fireworks, and you're just stymied by, like, Mike Tomlin praises Lamar Jackson, but he's been able to contain him for most of his career against the Steelers. So I gotta give it to the Pitt. I'm not a big fan of Pittsburgh being up here, but I gotta give it to them. They have made a big Russell Wilson's 4-0 since taking over. And Justin Fields only had 1 loss, I believe. No, 2 losses. I think the Steelers are at. So they're right up there in contention for playoffs, and that's a big run. The AFC North at the that's the beginning of the.
It's about time. We've had
a wild card in the division.
Yeah, we've had too many wild card spots over the last I don't know how many seasons, man. It's good to have that seed where we are right now, man, without jeopardizing trying to get in by a win or a loss from some other team, man. So
yeah,
I'm good
Pittsburgh,
with that.
Yeah. No, they've had their share, but I'm going to say Mike Tomlin, the most tenured coach in the NFL, he's pretty damn good, and he knows how to assess talent. He knows how to evaluate against who he's playing, his opponent. He puts the whole package together, and a couple of people have said Pittsburgh's the most balanced team this year because of their defense, their offense, what they can do on their offense, run, pass, protect, their special teams. They got that special teams coach running around the sideline with his clipboard. Like, I mean, I understand he's been in the league for 80 years or so, and he's been a tenured guy with the Steelers for a while, but their special teams coach is huge to what they've been doing. And
now, how long has Roethlisberger's and Fries been gone? Like a couple of years now.
Well, yeah, obviously, it's been a while. But I mean, it's Tomlin's game, so he's plugged in the QBs when he needs to. And I wouldn't call Roethlisberger a plug-in, but you got that guy fresh arm. I was in fantasy back then, and I remember what he did. Just in statistics wise, because he came in and he was fresh, and his first year, I believe, he got a Super Bowl. So,
yeah,
he kind of made Brady look like, oh, I can do that too. But then Brady said, well, I can do it, man.
I still miss Roethlisberger's and Fries though, man. I still miss him.
that was I saw Cordell Stewart yesterday in the Buffalo game because he was there to prime up Dion, and they are looking at the Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
Hosting. So Colorado, man. But Cordell Stewart, he was the first slash. And Bill Cowher had him. And he got to a couple of AFC championships. But that was when they really started moving the positions around and making. I mean, Cordell Stewart was a quarterback, but he was also a tight end, a running back, a wide receiver. That's why they called him slash. and he
Yeah.
played a lot of every position. So. But yeah,
All right.
Pittsburgh, look out, Baltimore. It's roughing up January.
Let me get out of here because we're on KCA Radio and we're gonna wrap up that spot over there. This is the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh,
too.
man, that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn. Are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. You know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org.
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calmago. Calmago is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes. In moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Calmago decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Calmago.com to learn how you can get Calmago through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
Do you remember studying sickle cell in biology class? What's the Count on Sickle Cell Trait Prevention is here to bring you awareness, education, and prevention conversations around the risk factors of this inherited gene. Visit wdconsct.org.
Muchos de nosotros nos vemos afectados por la enfermedad de células falciformes a diario y un número creciente simplemente no nos damos cuenta. Los impactos de esta enfermedad afectan a todas las personas y en especialmente a las personas de color y con antecedentes diversos. Estar en servicio conmigo y con los demás a medida que creamos una mayor conciencia sobre cómo identificar y dirigir el tratamiento de los rasgos de células falciformes y ayudar a las familias a saber cómo superar el trastorno de células falciformes. WDCONS.
My name is Ann Halley. I am the CEO and founder of the Rhabdomyolysis Foundation. I founded the organization in 2022 in an effort to support survivors and fund medical-related research. If you're interested in getting involved with our organization, you can visit our website at therhabdofoundation.org. You can sign up as a volunteer, or you can support our organization by donating directly on our website. And all proceeds will go to support survivors and medical research.
All right, welcome back to the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. I just want to touch on that last piece before we get out of here. Shouts out to Sports Log, man. Thanks for those highlights tonight. Shouts out to the Sports Collective TV, media, radio team. They were not here tonight, but they're always in the background in spirit. But that last PSA that you heard about the rhabdo, that is something that's near and dear to my heart, along with the sickle cell trait. One of the conditions that can happen with a person with SCT is rhabdomyolysis. And I experienced that. So I had the trait mutate like that one gene you see right there. And then I experienced the skeletal muscular damage of the rhabdomyolysis. Now, that is something that anybody can experience across the board. Anybody playing sports or exercising in the gym or CrossFit or marathon runners, even in firefighters, some of the physical trauma, some of the exertion, police cadets. That conversation is important. And so I partner with the Rhabdo Foundation because I have a voice in that. I experienced rhabdo and that was the renal failure. That's what I live from today. The secondary health complications. Now it's associated as arthritis and joint damage, skeletal muscular damage. I experienced living in the pain 7. Wintertime is the worst time. So now my pain's somewhere around an 8 or a 9, just depending on how the temperature is. But there are some things that I need you to know about that conversation. You can go to www.rhabdo.info if you want more information about the rhabdo. It's www.rhabdo.info, and you can get some information from us there. My plan is to partner with her and her foundation so that I can speak to that one particular conversation from the exertional sickling with rhabdomyolysis. That is fatal, can be fatal. Athletes have died from that conversation. If you're in Denver, Colorado, this network is based out of Denver, Colorado. Denver is one of the worst places for a sickle cell trait carrier to hang out, live, play sports, maybe exercise in, because of the altitude, the elevation. The oxygen is thin there. And with that red blood cell carries oxygen throughout your body. So imagine you're in an environment where the oxygen levels are already thin naturally. And now your body is trying to get oxygen. Plus it has a gene that is deficient of oxygen at any given time. So people have died playing sports. Ryan Clark from the Pittsburgh Steelers could no longer play in Colorado against the Broncos because of his sickle cell trait. Most recently, the last few years, for the Denver Broncos fans out there, Ronnie Hillman passed away from a rare kidney cancer connected directly to sickle cell trait. We're still baffled how he's playing this professional sport all these years, and they didn't find that kidney cancer until it was almost literally stage 4. And then he passed away, won a championship with the Broncos. So this conversation is near and dear to my heart because I'm connected to a radio station that is in Colorado, and my conversation is directly impacts that kind of environment and conversation. And so a lot of times, you might catch us here having some fun, talking about sports, and life and God and all these things. But that's what got me here. That red blood cell right there, that one right there. I was born in my mother's womb for that gene, passed on by my father. And went through my whole career, my whole life. And then that one day, that gene mutated. See, that's your normal one. See, most people have a normal red blood cell like that. If you don't have any inherited genes, you got 2 like that. I have one normal, and I have one that mutates like that. Some of my friends have 2 genes that mutate like this, right? Now, sickle cell trait is just one. There are 1,000 other red blood cell conditions out there that you could have, like alpha thalassemia, beta thalassemia, C trait, D trait. that may not mutate like this, they may crystallize. They may explode under pressure. They might be smaller than this red blood cell over here, right? So imagine having not enough of these based off of an alpha or beta thalassemia trait. Imagine having too much red blood cells and what that can do, or iron overload. All right, so there's this inherited gene conversation is not just sickle cell trait, it's just one of many. But it seems to be one of the major ones that they've studied that has a lot of risk factors that hasn't been discussed. So yours truly has been given that conversation to address sickle cell trait, and I've taken it on. It is that important. But as I'm learning, as I'm having these conversations, as I started this whole show with, that if God created everything for his good, then what is my conversation about an inherited gene that's created to combat malaria? You see, in Africa, it combats malaria. That's how they were able to survive. That's how my bloodline was able to survive malaria, because that red blood cell gene mutates and it dies off quicker, comes back quicker, and then we have an opportunity to survive malaria. But if you don't have an inherited gene like that, and you have all of these, then some people die because malaria attacks the red blood cells. So even in my own advocacy work, I'm starting to check and recognize how I talk about this conversation. It is preventive, but when an athlete dies, it's not. I don't get an opinion about that. I don't get an opinion about when, where, why, or how people die. All I take away from that death is that this is why this conversation is important. So I'm even learning how to language my own advocacy work. So it's not a victimized conversation. It's not a fear-based conversation. Just pay attention to your body. That's all I can tell you. And with genes like this, people are having babies with a disease that has no cure. So with that conversation is, hey, just make sure you have a blood test before you have that child, so you have a choice to have a child with a disease that doesn't have a cure, a universal cure. Most parents didn't have that choice. They didn't find out till after the fact. What comes with after the fact information? Man, sometimes can you imagine being a parent that has a child with no cure, that has a disease with no cure? Can you imagine what resentment and regret looks like? Or if I had known, maybe I wouldn't have had a child, and then the child knows that or hears that from you one day. Do you see the emotional? There's a whole mental health conversation connected to this. It's just not just physical, but it's also mental. Now that's not a light, because I don't know how to have a fun conversation around something like that. If you know, please send me a message, because it's my conversations about life are all they're serious, from youth suicide to veteran suicide to these kind of emotional state conversations. I gotta find an outlet where I can have some fun, because these are no joke discussions, and sometimes you gotta have those talks when people's lives are at stake. So I'm good. I can handle it. So thanks for listening in. This is the Farron Dozier Show, KCA Radio, MBR. Make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you follow us on the social media platforms at the Sports Collective. If you got an athlete in your family, or you're an athlete and you want to share your story with us on the Sports Collective platform, you are more than welcome. Again, we share our platform with anyone who wants to be involved. If you're an athlete, your son is an athlete, your daughter's an athlete, send them our way. Let's have a conversation at Sports Collective Media. That's on Instagram, at What's the Count on Twitter, at X. But you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Sports Collective. Send us a message, and we're down to always have a discussion. All right? I think that's everything. Sports Collective, we got all that covered. Yep, so I'm out of here. Shouts out to Sports Log. Shouts out to my crew. November 20th episode done. Stay tuned for November. Next week, the Orcas are playing. OrcasABA.com if you want to find out more about the Orcas. our schedule, our games. If you want more information on how to contact me directly, at Farron Dozier, but I manage those platforms. All right, I appreciate you all, and just God bless, right? Just life ain't that bad. It's really not. It's how we color our vision. Can you imagine wearing yellow sunglasses for 20 years and you take off those yellow sunglasses and you realize it's not yellow outside? Do you know how you would have to go back and check all the colors? Do you understand that? If you walked around with yellow sunglasses for 10 years, 20 years, and then one day you took those off, you would realize that it's not yellow outside. Imagine that's how it is to discover your freedom in life. To take those yellow sunglasses off and then go back and question everything that I've learned because it's not yellow outside. That's serious. But that's all the Bible talks about. Repenting and renewing your heart. Change the way you think. Turn from your ways. There's nothing religious about that. It's teaching us how to live to be a better human being. And if you're concerned about your salvation. Some people aren't even worried about this. They don't even know to think about their salvation, their eternal life. It's not even a conversation. But it is a conversation. So get at me. FarronD.com. I think this is it. I think I gotta play one more PSA to get out of here. What we got left? Yeah, we're gonna drop one more PSA and then we're done. Catch you on the other side. Shout out, what's the count?
Introducing LT Defense Tactical Gear, your ultimate solution for top-notch protection and performance in the field. Our armor bundles provide unmatched safety and comfort, while our battle belts and holsters ensure quick and easy access to your gear. Stay prepared for any situation with our high-quality medical supplies, designed to keep you ready for action at all times. Looking to enhance your skills? Our firearms training programs will take your proficiency to the next level. Trust LT Defense for all your tactical gear needs and gear up for success on the battlefield.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.